Good day, DIYers. So far, this is the update that we have on our Honda Prelude. All the wiring harness already been hooked up together. Both of the shift cables are already in. The throttle cable is already installed. The vacuum lines and the fuel lines are already installed. Now, what I'm planning to do is to put in the exhaust manifold. And then after doing the exhaust manifold, I will AC compressor and then put new alternator and the power steering. Those are the things that I want to accomplish today. This is the exhaust header that I'm going to install. It is a Megan stainless steel performance exhaust. Now we're just removing this old exhaust manifold gasket, and we are using a new exhaust manifold gasket. And then after putting your new exhaust manifold gasket, now we can install the first half exhaust manifold. Okay, this exhaust manifold is held by 9 12mm nuts. After installing the top part of the exhaust, now we're going under the car to install this one too. Okay, so this is the bottom side of the first half of the exhaust manifold. You will have 3 bolts like this with the nut attached to it. You just want to remove the nut. You then want now to install the studs on those 3 holes. Now you want to put your new gasket, and then now we're ready to mount the second half of the exhaust. And then now you want to line up those 3 studs at the bottom, and then now you can put the nuts. And the sizes of these nuts are 14mm. After installing the AC compressor, this one has 4 bolts, 12mm. So you have 1, and then 2 here on the side, and then 2 at the bottom. They're all 12mm bolts. After you install that one, the next thing that we're gonna put in is the alternator. And these are both of the belts that I'm using. This one is for the power steering, and then this one is for the AC and the alternator. First, you want to remove this 14mm bolt, the one on top, and then the one on the bottom for the tensioner. This one is a 12mm. We're installing the top bolt first. You just want to put that one hand tight, and then the next thing that we're going to be installing would be the bolt that goes under the alternator, going straight to the tensioner. Both of the bolts here on top and the bottom are just hand tight. And now we're going to put our alternator and AC belt. Now what you want to do is to grab the other side of the belt under the crankshaft pulley, and then once it's secured, now you just want to adjust your tension. You have a 10mm bolt here in front. And then you don't want the belt too tight and not too loose. Now we're ready to tighten up this 14mm bolt, and then the one at the bottom is a 12mm. And the other bolt, or the other nut in the bottom, is a 12mm. And then double check your tension. You don't want it too tight, you don't want it too loose. It has about 1/8 to 1/4 inch flex, so not too tight and not too loose. And then now we're ready to install our power steering pump. This bolt with the threaded head goes here, and then this bracket should be sitting on top like this. Now we'll just put the 10mm bolts that secure the bracket, or the tensioner bracket, and then now we're going to put in this set screw. To adjust the tension of the belt, you just want to tighten this one up clockwise, and then make sure that your belt is not too tight and not too loose. Before we install this hydraulic line for the power steering, we now want to install our driver side engine mount. This engine mount is held by 3 14mm bolt. Okay, so after installing your driver side motor mount, now we want to install the bracket. Okay, and then on the top you want to secure a 17mm nut, and then here on the side is also a 17mm nut, and then the very far back is a 17mm bolts. So now our driver side engine mount and bracket is already installed. Both of our belt and all of our accessories, power steering, alternator, and the AC. The only thing that I have left to do is to put this back. This one is held by 2 10mm bolts. Alright, DIYers, if you're probably asking why did I put the exhaust manifold, the alternator, the AC compressor, the power steering, and the bracket last. Not everyone is doing an engine swap, so I took the opportunity to make sure that I show here in this video how to put back your AC compressor, the alternator, the power steering, and to put the exhaust manifold too. And this will be also a good opportunity on how to show our viewers, our DIYers, how to remove and replace these parts while the engine is still in the engine bay. And that's the only reason why I didn't put all of these parts beforehand, so everybody can see how to do it just like a normal repair would be. Now we are transferring both of the radiator fans and the condenser fan to our new radiator. So for this first fan you have 4 10mm, and this one has 3 10mm, so you just want to remove all of them. After removing both fans, make sure to get this rubber, both of the rubber at the bottom. This is where the new radiator will sit in. And just in case, also the radiator cap. This one came with the new 10mm nuts, but they are all over the place. The one that we have is for an automatic. So you have this plugs for the oil cooler. You can just remove this one, because we don't have any oil that goes into this guys right here. Nuts, then we were gonna use the new ones. And then don't forget to install back this rubber boot. And now we're installing our new radiator. And then make sure that the radiator is sitting on the two rubbers, on the two rubber grommets. And now you want to flip over this radiator bracket, and then reinstall the 10mm bolts. Now once the radiator is set and secured, now you want to plug the wiring harness back. And then now the next thing that we're gonna put is both of our radiator hoses. what I normally do too, instead of adding coolant directly to our radiator, I also add coolant to this hose. So before we fill this one up with coolant, we're gonna put the battery tray first, so we can put the reservoir on the side. The battery tray bracket is held by two 12mm bolts. And then the actual tray is also held by four 12mm bolts. And then after installing the battery tray, now we can just slide our newly cleaned reservoir on the side. And then this one goes here. After filling our radiator with coolant, now we just want to secure our radiator cap. This is the computer that I will be using. It's a P14 ECU, just to so I can ensure that the motor is running. But eventually I will be adding a chip with this OBD1 P28 ECU. I still have this H22A red top, but this one is for an OBD2. And this one, I believe, the PM5. And this is a P75. So I will be using the P14 for now. Okay, I think that will do it for now. It's alive.